Are you ready to level up your marathon game? Discover 3 strength training secrets to train smarter and run stronger during marathon training so you can feel confident for your best race yet, especially if you've struggled balancing strength training with marathon training in the past. As a running physical therapist and coach for over 20 years, my team and I have provided strength training for marathon runners to help hundreds who are struggling with recurring injuries or hitting a plateau in their marathon growth, but they thought their bodies were just too old for marathon running. Therefore, not only have I been educating the running community about these 3 strategies for years now, but I've implemented these same techniques with hundreds of runners and used these myself for 3 years in my mid 40s during my personal marathon journey, which has led to getting a 23-minute PR at the Cape Cod Marathon, actually rocking the t-shirt right now, and going to finish the Dopey challenge of 48.6 magical miles in Disney, actually coming within 4 minutes of that PR, feeling strong the whole way. I want to share with you the 3 key principles to growing a stronger marathon running body. Whether you're shooting for a personal best, you want that PR, or you just want to cross that finish line proud of your accomplishment. These 3 proven strength training techniques will elevate your performance, just like it did for me, and will keep you injury-free during marathon training. Let's unlock your full potential and make your next marathon your best one yet. My first tip for strength training for marathon training is the single most important goal during marathon training is to prevent breakdown. 7 out of 10 marathon runners listening to this right now will get injured training for their race. And not to be pessimistic, but that is the fact, guys. Within the research in my previous life as an academician, this was my research line, and multiple studies show the same injury rates in marathoners. But there is hope because we just need to be smart about marathon training and adding in strength training. Therefore, the key to marathon training is actually staying healthy to get through the training, because it doesn't matter how fast or how many miles you did in training. If you're injured heading into your race, you won't hit your marathon goals. I can pretty much guarantee you that, right? And I think of new runners like Joe within our community who started marathon training and injured his knee, building up for his first marathon, the Marine Corps marathon, and wasn't sure of how to strengthen the weak muscles that was causing his knee pain during his training. Or I think of Teresa, who was struggling with proximal hamstring tendinopathy for many years while running marathons. And while she was able to push through the runs and the marathon races, she felt like she was losing power, getting slower, and was in more pain really for longer periods of time. And she was like at this plateau and was feeling lost and reaching like her main goal of getting a BQ, right? Qualifying for Boston. And actually, Teresa detailed her strong marathon journey in episode 244 on the Healthy Runner podcast. If you want to learn more about her story in particular, I also think of runners in our community like Sandra, who had done 13 marathons in the past, and she wound up injuring her back during her build-up for the New York City Marathon, but also had Big Sur on her calendar. She got into that amazing race, and she was registered for that in the spring, and her focus was really getting ready for New York to run the 26.2 miles and enjoy the experience. And while working together, we kind of shifted, like, let's finish the marathon and then let's get you strong and confident to actually finish a marathon training cycle at Big Sur. And you can actually hear Sandra's comeback story in episode 236 on the Healthy Runner podcast. And I share these stories because all 3 of these runners went on to like crush their marathon goals because they got healthy and they were able to complete the training. And how did they do this? Like, I wound up creating a personalized plan for them that incorporated strength training, something they had always ignored. And matter of fact, if you tuned in today because you know strength training during marathon training has been a missing ingredient for you and you want to learn more, comment me below. It's a no judgment zone here. I just want to see how many are here today because they got an injury in the past because you weren't strength training. And bonus, if you let me know what injury it was, so I can continue creating content that will help you or prevent that injury during your next training cycle. Therefore, strength training during marathon training is going to prevent IT band syndrome, runner's knee, shin splints, plantar fasciitis, Achilles tendonitis. So you can actually complete the training and not have to miss runs, long runs, or stop running for a week or two during marathon training because consistency is key. And when it comes to marathon training, you can't be consistent if you're injured. And it pains me how many people I hear had to stop running for like 2 weeks before their goal race. They did the whole training cycle, but they got injured and then they had to stop running. So injury prevention in learning how to activate and improve your stability of your hip, knee, and ankle joints is key. Lucky for you, I've compiled the top 7 exercises. I call it my Spark 7 that has accomplished this goal. And this is a hidden gem and is a short 23-minute workout that all marathoners should have in their back pocket because if you're intimidated by strength training or never did strength training before, this is your starting point. And I've done training, like strength training before, or if you've done strength training before, but continue to get like niggles, aches, pains during marathon training, this workout is for you. If you feel like your current strength training may not be balanced with your mileage increase during, marathon training, this strength training routine is for you. I actually did it this morning as I am actually in the taper phase of marathon training. And boy, do you really feel those hip muscles working? This is like a great series of exercises that, like I said, every runner needs to have in their back pocket. So strength training is important in preventing injuries. It's the most underrated component of marathon training. And if you're not healthy now, or you don't master the fundamentals, then it doesn't matter like what amazing fancy plan that you're following or app that you've downloaded that you're really pumped about for your marathon block. And for those tuning me out right now, strength training will bulletproof your body. Your joints, if you've had a history of arthritis, if you've had a labral tear in your hip, like I did when I started my running journey, if you've had runner's knee, it's going to help your muscles. So if you get constant hamstring pulls, strains, hip flexor pain, calf strains, your calves always feel tight, or tendon pain, if you have chronic Achilles tendonitis, posterior tibial tendonitis, or the dreaded PHT, the upper hamstring tendon pain. Simply put, you can't run faster as a runner or get a PR if you aren't healthy. So strength training will keep you healthy during training so you can put in the work and reap the rewards on race day. So I hope that I made that point clear. And how do we strengthen your body for better marathon running? Couple of things I want you to consider here is you want to perform strength training for runners or strength train in order to run, as I like to say. And you want to do this by doing strength training at least 2 times a week during your marathon training. And that might scale down to 1 time a week as you peak in your mileage. And you really need to build that strong base and sow the seeds so you can reap the harvest and the rewards during your marathon race. And this is like an exciting time for you to embark on this strength training journey because I want you to reframe your mindset that you get the opportunity to work on improving your weaknesses as a marathoner. And just know that strength training is essential in order to run marathons. Therefore, the most important thing to consider heading into marathon training cycle is really reframing the mindset as one of opportunity and growth for which all future marathon running is going to be built upon. And if this is our first introduction, welcome and thank you for being here. I'm Dr. Dwayne Scotty. I'm a running physical therapist, coach, educator, and founder of Spark Healthy Runner and creator of the Healthy Runner podcast. And my mission is to preserve the health and longevity of the running community by allowing you to get stronger, run faster, and enjoy lifelong injury-free running, no matter when your marathon is or how many marathons you do. And if you're already getting value from this, like, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next video that is going to help keep you healthy during marathon training. Now, let's get to the second key tip in implementing strength training during marathon preparation. And that is for improving efficiency as a runner and running with a more efficient stride. Marathon racing and training, for that matter, is all about efficiency and conserving as much energy during your race so you're more efficient as a runner and can hang on to your marathon goal pace for longer into the race and finish strong. There are a couple of key components to add into your strength training during marathon training that will help you with your stride efficiency. Can I be real for a second, guys? I want to be fully transparent here. I'm just feeling weird, like recording this right now, because I actually already did this 2 days ago, to be exact. And I didn't realize that my camera shut off halfway through the video. So now I'm recording this 2 days later, and I'm kind of wondering, because I feel kind of silly here, if you notice anything different about me now versus when I talked about strength training during or strength training for injury prevention during marathon training. If you notice anything different, then I'm going to know that you've been paying attention and you've been watching closely, and or you're one of our dedicated viewers of the channel. So if you notice anything different, like, let me know in the comment box below. I'm kind of curious to see how many of you actually notice. All right, so let's get into this improving stride efficiency with strength training during marathon training. And the number one way we can actually do this is if we improve our posture, especially if you are someone who is constantly, with a computer in front of you, or you do anything working with your hands where, your working space is in front of you. So I think of like a lot of my athletes who are like dentists or surgeons or chefs, that they're constantly, doing things in front of their body where they're in somewhat of a hunched over posture. Actually improving your posture is going to actually make you more efficient as a runner. And if you want to reverse like all of those faulty postures that you're putting yourself in during the day with strength exercises, and those are strengthening the muscles of your mid back, so your scapular muscles between your shoulder blades. And if you're getting this training a couple weeks after it's published, then by now I'm already going to publish my favorite kind of posture fix routines for runners for mobility and strengthening. So you can find those on the Spark Healthy Runner YouTube channel to help with this. If you're watching this, like as soon as it's published, then just wait a couple weeks, okay? Subscribe to the channel, hit the bell so you're notified when that video drops. For now, though, what I have for you is the download of my Strong Glute Guide. This resource is especially made for you if you're a runner who always gets pain when you're training for a marathon and you build out those long runs. Weak hip muscles is one of the most common reasons why marathon runners don't get stronger. And I've helped thousands of runners with this problem throughout my career as a physical therapist and coach. And that's why I'm super, super excited to share this free resource with you so you can get those hip muscles on and popping before you run so you can start feeling stronger and not have to stop running during marathon training. You're going to get my 5 simple must-do exercises that you can master either at the gym or in the comfort of your own home to get stronger, faster, and stay healthy so you can enjoy the mental clearing miles that marathon training offers. And then you're going to also get my 25-minute level 1 strength workout for runners that I mentioned earlier. And all you need to do is just click the link that I have for you in the show notes to get that download, or just go to learn.sparkhealthyrunner.com/strong hips. The second way that we can improve efficiency during marathon training with strength training is to improve your ankle mobility, to improve your running stride. So this is going to actually improve the efficiency of your running, and not only working the mobility aspect. Like when we talk about mobility, we're looking at the ability of your shin bone to go over your foot and ankle. And that's movement or mobility. And that's one factor, right? That's one role that it plays. And that's important in preventing runner's knee, important in preventing Achilles pain in marathoners, plantar fasciitis in marathoners, right? So we want to work that mobility. And I have a great mobility exercise that you can do by yourself with a band on my YouTube channel. If you just literally Google stiff ankle spark healthy runner, you'll see it pop up. Very popular video. Great exercise, been given it literally for decades, right? To help improve athletes' ankle mobility. However, we're talking about strength today. So not only do you want good mobility in the ankle, but you actually want to integrate strength exercises that allow your ankle to pass through that mobility. So sorry about that. One thing that I forgot. See, I told you guys this was the second take. I actually had this ready for you the first time around. I had it on my desk, but I had to go and grab it. This is the kinesis board. This is a great tool to not only increase your foot stability and ankle stability, but it allows you to strengthen balancing on one leg like you do when you run. And allows it to go through that ankle mobility with strengthening and stability. So this is the Novoso Kinesis board. As you can see, I got it under my desk. I use it every day. For watching this video, you can get 20% off of this puppy because they are one of our partners. So you can just simply click the link that I have for you in the show notes, pop in Healthy Runner. You'll get 20% off of that. But the other thing that I also like working ankle mobility with strengthening is using like squat wedges. And those are just something simple that you can use them for squats, and you actually can go lower if you're doing squats in the gym. But I also like to turn the wedge. We're going to pretend this is a wedge here. I like to turn the wedge in the opposite direction. So your heel is lower than the toe. And now you can actually do calf strengthening in newfound ankle motion or mobility, right? So you're kind of working the ankle through greater range of motion. It's actually a really effective way to actually strengthen the Achilles tendon. For those of you at risk for Achilles tendonitis, make sure you're not having symptoms right now, though. That's advanced. That's like the last progression in my Achilles loading series. But strengthening that Achilles, strengthening the muscles that we use as runners through more ankle mobility, if that makes sense. The more ankle mobility we have, the more strength we have in that range, the more efficient our stride is going to be. And the third reason to actually improve your efficiency as a runner with strength training is to actually work your hip mobility and flexibility to improve your stride. So I see this a lot. A lot of athletes have tight hip flexors. When I'm looking at someone's running gait video, I just actually did one yesterday. I noticed their hip was not extending as much in the propulsion phase. And I asked them, like, do your hip flexors feel tight? Do you feel like, you're always having tightness in the front of your hips? And if you've ever struggled like tightness in the hip flexors, the groin, the inner thigh muscles, then you want to make sure that your strength training also helps improve these areas. So you can, what we'd call like dynamic flexibility, essentially. So to make sure that we're doing some movements that we're going sideways laterally. So maybe a side lunge. Lateral lunge, it's going to kind of stretch some of those groin muscles, those adductors, as well as making sure you're doing strength exercises that put your hip in extension so you can start to lengthen the hip flexors, right? That's also going to improve your stride efficiency because we need to be able to extend our hips to be more powerful and to be more efficient as a runner. So a couple of examples of strength exercises that are kind of my go-tos that I have in my programs that will allow you to move through some of these different hip movements are the explosive lunge, which is a great exercise that is going to really teach you to kind of extend from the hip into triple extension and use the whole posterior chain. So we're going to use the calf muscle, the hamstrings, as well as the glutes, and you're going to go into that hip extended posture. Also, a reverse lunge can actually lengthen in the front leg, the hip flexors, as well as split squats. So, where you're putting your foot up on a bench behind you, your sofa, and doing split squats. That's not only going to work the front leg from a quad, glute perspective, but it's also going to work on the mobility, flexibility in the front of the leg that is elevated. So, you're going to actually work on that hip mobility, again, improving your efficiency. So now I want to know, like, obviously you're watching this video because you've started training for a marathon or you're about to start training for a marathon. So which marathon are you actually signed up for? My next marathon will be the Philadelphia Marathon before I do the Disney Marathon for my second time as part of the Dopey Challenge. So I'm just curious to hear what marathon you're training for. Drop it in the comments below. Like, let me know what race you're doing. I'd love to connect with you, and I'd love to actually create future content for specific races that a lot of people in our community are actually running. So I do read all of my comments. Next, I'm going to share with you the third powerful reason to strength train during marathon training and during your buildup. But before I do that, if you are getting value from this and enjoying these tips for adding in strength training during marathon training, I would greatly appreciate it if you'd hit that like button so I can continue creating free content like this for you, and you can maintain a strong mind, a strong body, and just keep marathon running. Want to be good at the thing you love doing, which is running marathons? The third tip for strength training during marathon training is, or the benefit is, improving speed and performance. Don't you want to get faster as a runner? I'm not sure I know a runner who doesn't want to get faster. As a runner myself, this is how I compete. When I run a race, I like to challenge myself. I want to see improvement, right? We put in a lot of hard work in running and learning how to grow in our running journey. And I like to see how much I can improve my time from my last race. And oftentimes we as runners, we jump right into, I want to get faster. How do I get faster? How do I improve my pace? How do I run a marathon in under 4 hours? How do I run a marathon in under 3:30? How do I find the best training plan? Right? You're always looking at the plan. When the question you should be asking yourself is, how do you grow in your marathon journey? Where do you start improving? What is the foundation of your running? I wish a person would try and build my house literally starting from the roof, right? Like, that ain't gonna work. Isn't it funny that, like, when they build houses, they go deep down. They actually dig out a foundation inside dirt, and they go so deep that when it rains, it like turns to mud. Like, when was the last time you got inside your own dirt, your own mud? When have you gone deep down inside yourself and said, what do I need to change before I try and run a faster marathon? Strength training is your foundation for which all future healthy and faster marathon running is built upon. Strength training during marathon training will allow you to reap the reward and the benefits of improving your performance to get a personal best, right? Grab that PR. And that is just what Sean in our community noticed when he added in strength training for marathoning. Sean started working with Coach Whitney on our team after following the Hal Higdon free plans during many marathon training cycles, like many of us do. I started out with those as well. And, he was at this point an experienced marathon runner who just never quite put together a good training cycle. Before working with us, he never did running workouts. He never did runner focused strength training. Getting the structure of strength training and our approach and working with Coach Whitney, getting guidance each step of the way, he was able to shave off 45 minutes in his marathon time in 3 different training cycles. So he continually improved each and every one. Most importantly, he stayed healthy. And the one time he did have a little pain pop up, we were able to work with him, didn't have to derail his running, his training, got to the start line without having any issues on marathon race day. And he didn't have to miss any of his runs. And as Sean put it, he was finally good at the thing he loved to do. So let's geek out a little bit about and get into like the physiology of our bodies and our muscles just for a minute. All right. Our muscles break down in basically two types of muscles in our body. We have slow twitch muscle fibers, which are type 1 muscle fibers, which are aerobic in nature. So these are endurance muscles. These are the muscles that we're primarily using for most of our runs during marathon training. If we're running any length of time and we're running 30 minutes or more, you're using a lot of slow twitch muscle fibers. But then we have type 2 muscle fibers. These are the fast twitch muscles. These are used for more powerful, explosive sports activities like jumping, Olympic style lifts, like if you've heard of a clean or a jerk. I just want to say jerk. And, as well as our speed work as runners, we're using those type 2. When you're doing interval workouts, when you're doing tempo runs, you're using some of those fast twitch type 2 fibers. They're kicking in. They're also known as our anaerobic, meaning they don't need oxygen. And this little muscle physiology for you, I think it's important for you to understand that your body is made up of these two different types of muscles. And part of being an efficient marathon runner is being able to recruit more muscle fibers, because the more you can recruit, the better you can push off the ground and the faster you'll be. So let's say you're running a 16-mile long run during marathon training. Your slow twitch muscle fibers are starting to fatigue out because this is your first 16 that you've done in this training block. Then you want to be able to kick in some of your fast twitch muscle fibers so you actually don't slow down. I know for me, I really start fatiguing, like most runners, at mile 18 or 20, right, in a marathon. And that's when, it really is hard to hold your goal pace, right? That's when the going gets tough. And in order to keep up with that pace, as the type 1 muscle fibers start to fatigue, you want to have some reserves and kick in those type 2 muscle fibers to make sure your running economy holds. And if you can kick these type 2 fibers in, you're more efficient because you can actually use more oxygen, be able to feed your body so you're not slowing down. Then you're able to maintain your pace later in the race, which means you are actually a faster marathoner. You're going to get faster. Your times are going to go down. You're going to nail that PR, that goal that you have. So therefore, strength training while marathon training will improve performance. And there are two specific types of exercises that I really think about that I want you to add in to your strength training during marathon training that you're probably not doing with your traditional strength workout. One is strength training exercises for power. And that can be accomplished with specific strength exercises that are more explosive in nature. And some of my favorites include, I already mentioned one of them before because it's in the name. I literally named it, called the explosive lunge, right? So you're generating power where you're going into that reverse lunge and then you're powering out of that bottom position to get that triple extension I mentioned before. So we're kind of a nice, slow, controlled eccentric and then power out. So you're trying to explode, push through your heel, push through the ground as fast as possible, and generate glutes, hamstrings, calves, all kicking in. Love that exercise. And you get that extension at the hip to improve your hip mobility that I mentioned before. It's like a little BOGO, little 2-for-1 option, right? Or I also like to do RDLs, like Romanian deadlifts. You can do them with a barbell. You can do them with dumbbells, where you intentionally have a 2-second negative, but on the way up, you really try and push through the ground, like you're pushing your feet into the basement, if you had a basement, and you're squeezing those glutes at the top, so it's more explosive in nature. So not only specific exercise you can add power to, but doing jump training exercise, or what we call plyometrics. Adding those into your strength training during marathon training is also going to train for power to improve performance. So plyometrics will strengthen your muscles and your tendons, increase elasticity, and the ability to rebound off of the ground. This will not only prevent frequent tendon injuries like Achilles tendonitis, posterior tibial tendon pain, hamstring tendonitis, but it's going to improve your performance. And research has been done on plyometric training compared to other specific exercises, and the results are pretty clear and show that runners who add plyometric training into their exercise program can be more economical as a runner versus those runners who are only doing weightlifting. So for us as marathon runners, you should be thinking of adding in plyometrics that will help really you in being able to maintain your pace later in the race, because you can kick in those type 2 muscle fibers now, because you have you've been strengthening them the whole time during your training block and during your strength training. So for those of you who've never done plyometrics before, the time to add these in would not be when you're training for your first marathon, let's say, when your body is trying to recover from the longest long runs you've ever done in your life. So, that's where you want to do this during the base building phase before you actually start marathon training. So that's my word of caution. I want to be very clear here. I'm not telling all of you to go out there and just start jumping around as you're doing these long runs. So if you've never done strength training while marathon training before, I would not start with plyometrics. Hence, this was like at the end and the third benefit I'm mentioning, because I would start with the injury prevention exercise I mentioned first to start to activate your run specific muscles, then layer that on building strength on one leg with more weight bearing exercises before you actually start jumping around. Very common mistake. I just actually got off call with someone yesterday who was telling me that they tried some plyometric box jumps. Box jumps, and a lot of people jump to box jumps, by the way. You've probably seen them before. That's what they think plyometrics are. That is literally like the last progression of plyometric training, especially jumping off the box, because now you got gravity, your whole body weight, whatever, 160, 200 pounds, 230, 4 to 6 times your body weight landing on the ground, going to your tissues, your tendons, right? Like you need a lot of strength to control that motion, so you're not smacking the ground so hard. So you got to have this foundational strength first. Word of caution. But those of you who've been doing strength training during marathon training before, this is going to be a game changer for you. All right. So start to add in some power, start to add in some plyometrics. Make sure it's periodized throughout your training cycle, just like it should be periodized throughout the calendar year. Your strength training should not look the same every single month out of the year, as well as during a training cycle. So next time you think about strength training during marathon training, I really want you to, think about some of these principles. So to kind of recap here, the third tip for strengthening your body for better marathon running is really implementing these explosive strength exercises and plyometrics that I talked about into your training, with the goal, your rationale is to recruit more type 2 muscle fibers, strengthen your tendons, and improve your speed and performance. So, what strength training do marathoners need? Strength training for marathon training should include 5 main elements that I really think of. Number 1, you need to target your run specific muscles, like in my 25-minute strength workout for runners. Number 2, you need to include weight bearing exercises where your foot is on the ground. So you can't just do machines where you're kicking your legs up, hamstring curl and quad. Number 3, strength exercise in which you are on one leg. So you're not just doing squats, deadlifts, leg press, all exercises on 2 legs. Number 4, include jump training exercises or plyometrics. And number 5 is kind of the point I just mentioned. It needs to be periodized. So it needs to match your training cycles throughout a marathon training block. And the beginning of the block should look different than the middle of the block and should look different during taper time. All right. Taper time is like do no harm strengthening. You're not doing plyometrics a week, 2 weeks, even maybe 3 weeks before your marathon. When you're peaking in your mileage, you're doing your hardest long runs, hardest speed work. That's the recipe for injury, right? So we got to think about this and we got to periodize it appropriately. So to recap, guys, the 3 essential tips for getting a stronger running body during marathon training are strength training for injury prevention. The second is strength training to improve running efficiency, with strength training during marathon prep by addressing posture, ankle mobility, hip mobility, makes you more efficient stride that we talked about. And then number 3 is really strength training for marathon runners to improve performance. So don't forget to grab your free Strong Glute Guide ebook that contains bonus video content with specific actionable exercise routines on how to strengthen your run specific muscles. Get the download at going to learn.sparkhealthyrunner.com, or just click the link that I have for you in the show notes. And you may be wondering, Dwayne, does this strength training stuff really work? Am I probably too old to get stronger at this point? Like, is my body too old to get stronger, at this point in my life? And, can I not get better at the marathon? Can I not get faster at the marathon? When you execute these three strength training strategies during marathon training, you'll not only feel more confident in getting stronger and faster, you'll stay healthy and enjoy the process of marathon running again and crush some PRs. Just like your well built home will require little maintenance and bring you a lifetime of memories for you and your family. Like, I think of folks in our community like Danielle, who was a frustrated Peloton runner with knee pain, but learned how to conquer her first marathon pain free. Danielle was a 47-year-old who started running 4 years prior using her Peloton treadmill. She was consistent with her treadmill running, but she struggled when she started running outside, and she had to stop 2 training cycles due to pain in her knee. She is a radiologist and, quite bright. And she really started immersing herself in running education and health, and soon realized that the consistent strength training on the Peloton app was just not supporting her running. And that is how we got connected. And as she was looking to build up for her first marathon and wanted running specific strength training that would keep her healthy, not have knee pain. And she liked the idea of having myself as a PT provide her with guidance just in case the knee pain started acting up, so we can be proactive and address it right away so she wouldn't miss any training. And while working together, Danielle was not only able to run her first marathon in San Diego, but she didn't have to worry about her knee pain coming back during the training. Or I think of Emily. Emily ran her first marathon before working with us, and she was, able to reach, or she wasn't able to really reach her race goals on her own because she was feeling hurt, discouraged, and the marathon was going to be like a one and done for her. She was 45 years old and suffered from gluteus medius pain, shin splints, and plantar fasciitis. And 1 year passed, and she continued to have some shin and foot pain with running, and she really wanted to actually run another marathon, but didn't know if her body would allow her to do it. And as Emily put it, like, she didn't need to be fast. She just wanted to be able to do what she enjoys and be able to run for like many years to come. And Emily really appreciated the regular deep dive calls with Coach Whitney on our team that really helped to keep her on track and really customized her strength and running training plan based on her crazy mom life schedule. She's a mom of three. So, any of you parents out there can relate that you don't have a lot of time, right? You're a little time poor. So not only did Emily build a solid, strong foundation with strength training with many months of pain-free running before her marathon training cycle, but she then was able to continue it during marathon training and run her fastest marathon in Chicago. And today she continues to get guidance from Coach Whitney on our team. And we're actually looking forward to seeing not only, her crushing Chicago this year, but also Coach Whitney, who is running that race, crush Chicago as well. Or I think of runners like Tammy in our community, who only started running 5 years ago and describes herself as a slow back of the pack runner. She felt like she was constantly getting injured. She wanted to get past these injuries and be able to just run pain free. And she reached out for help and, started working with Coach Latoya on our team. And she really wanted the goal of building a strong base and be able to actually train for the Chicago Marathon. And she needed to learn how to strength train. She needed consistency in her running. And that's really what Coach Latoya was able to provide for her. And we're so proud of her that she went on to complete her first marathon in Chicago. Then there's Bobby, who started working with Coach Kat on our team before her first ever marathon. And not knowing anything about marathon training, Bobby didn't realize she was doing too much too soon. And she suffered a huge overuse injury to a tendon in her knee. And then it lingered for a while. She couldn't shake it. She was able to finish a half marathon, but she had excruciating pain. and she was like ready to give up on her running dream. And I just like absolutely hate to hear this when runners think they just can't be a runner, right? They can't do it. And fast forward to like this past year where Bobby's trying to get back into it. She was very ambitious and signed up for the Detroit Free Press Marathon. And while on a run, she was listening to the Healthy Runner podcast and learned about our coaching program. And she knew she absolutely had to join. She wanted to be a healthy runner and not a worried runner. She is really at the place where her knee was flaring up constantly. So Bobby scheduled a strategy call with me to see if it would be a good fit for her based on her history and goals, and everything that she described to me. I knew Coach Cat was like the perfect solution for really where she wanted to go in her running journey. And as Bobby put it in her post-race testimonial, I wish everyone had a Coach Cat in their life. She listened and understood my needs and struggles. She developed a training plan designed specifically for me. And, Bobby says she felt so elite, right? It was a plan just for her. It just wasn't a generic plan. It ebbed and flowed with her progress. So it was modified along the way. And she says this part is really important, that she had an overuse injury flare up about 2 months in, totally freaked out, legit tears and everything, which is quite common, right? With a lot of the athletes that we work with, you get these little flare ups. But Coach Cat was able to calm her down. She assured her that it's not the end of the world, that we can actually work through this. We can modify. There are certain exercises, certain strategies we can add into the plan. We can modify the run plan. And, she had her doubts because this was the same exact pain that she suffered from years ago that just stopped her in her tracks. And not only did Coach Cat and Bobby work through the pain and it went away, but she never stopped running in the meantime. This like totally blew her mind. And from there on, she was able to go ahead and feel confident for a half marathon and then complete her very first marathon in Detroit with gas left in the tank. Like, she ran a marathon without pain, and Bobby's been forever changed and is thrilled to be where she is in her running journey now. We're looking forward to actually seeing her continue that journey and crush her second marathon very soon. So guys, this strength training during marathon training works. These are just 4 examples. I also mentioned, if you remember, that long ago for me, it was 2 days ago, Joe, Teresa, Sandra, and Sean, from like the hundreds and hundreds of runners who've implemented the Spark method of strengthening your body for running during marathon training. If you're ready to invest and take the guesswork out in how you balance strength training during marathon training, then you can apply for our one-on-one Spark Healthy Runner coaching program, in which we provide you customized strength training, marathon run plan, and nutrition support, all with clarity, accountability, and guidance each step of the way toward you conquering 26.2. You can apply for our coaching program with a special link that I have for you in the description to this training, or simply go to learn.sparkhealthyrunner.com/coaching. And spots are limited. And, we get these busy times of the year. So make sure you jump in at least 4 months before your goal race. And if you've never done strength training before, I would highly recommend you start up 6 months before. We're going to customize a whole 6-month training block for you that includes base building. My name is Dr. Dwayne Scotty, and my mission is to empower you to feel strong and confident in getting faster and enjoying lifelong injury-free marathon running. I'm the founder of Spark Healthy Runner, and you are watching the Healthy Runner podcast channel. Like and subscribe and hit that bell so you're notified when I do another video like this. This training was all about sharing the 3 tips for you to level up your strength training during marathon preparation, so you can actually get stronger and feel more confident to run your best race yet. Now learn how to master my top 7 strength exercises for runners, all within a 25-minute workout video that I have for you next.